Welcome to Subject To Blackout. I'm your host, Tim O'Brien, or Timo. On today's episode, I'm happy to introduce from the Name Taken podcast, my good friend, Michael Marshall. How you been?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
Not too bad, considering. I had you on this podcast today because as we've been friends for many years.
A while. Yeah.
But we frequently find very similar views and opinions on certain pop culture. And I always enjoy discussing them with you. But one of the things we got really excited about a few weeks ago was the release of the Snider Cut. And we were excited because it looked like it was going to be a train wreck.
That's right. We were excited for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, we were excited to laugh at their failure. And so many others who wanted to release the Snider Cut were looking forward to great success. And I would say that no one was particularly thrilled. I think the fanboys were pretty happy that it was much better than the Joss Whedon one, which it definitely is. But it is still not a very good movie as far as I could tell.
Joss Whedon, not doing well with PR right now in general.
Having a bit of a moment. In a very bad way.
I mean, my hope for that movie was that it would kind of work out like there's this movie, this 4-hour Western movie from the early 80s called Heaven's Gate. Do you know that one?
I'm sorry, you said Back to the Future 3?
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate. No, I have not heard of this film.
Okay, I can't remember the director. Dude made Deer Hunter, and then whoever the studio was like, "Do you want a bunch of cash?" And he was like, "Can I make Apocalypse Now, but in the Old West?" And they were like, "Okay." And it went over budget. It went over schedule by like over a year, and it was like this giant, bloated, self-indulgent monstrosity that like kind of blew apart this production studio and changed the way that, production companies actually invested in directors. And I was hoping that that's what the Snider Cut would be.
And it certainly was not that.
It was nothing. We're not even going to talk about it in 2 or 3 months. That's how nothing it was.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly. See, the thing that blows me away we together watched the first roughly 2 hours of this epic.
Yeah, where Superman was not at any point in the first 2 hours.
You did not see a single moment of Superman.
Right.
We watched 2 hours of film.
Yeah, and how long is it in total? I can't
it's
remember.
Just over 4, I want to say, maybe 420 at the most.
Nice.
But yeah, that's
Blaze it, yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of fucking movie to not have Superman in it. And then I'm assuming you have not finished the movie.
No, I probably won't.
And that's totally fair. I was kind of hoping that would be the case because that way I have some insight to fill you in on.
I didn't even get to see Thanos.
He's not in this one. Yeah, I know. Super disappointment because I thought Keanu Reeves as Thanos in this one would have been amazing.
Yeah. Thanos.
So I was just surprised by the kind of general public perception of it that I've consumed personally, where people were like, the first couple hours are really great, and it kind of like gets a little bit worse in the second half. And my opinion was the exact opposite. The first 2 hours were fucking ridiculous. I mean, like the whole Themyscira scenes, like they just like stare at a box for like 20 consecutive seconds without anyone doing anything. And then there's like someone slow motion walks while some, ethereal voice is like going in the background. And it's it's that for 10 consecutive minutes. And it's so bloated and narcissistic and completely indulgent. And people are like, yeah, that was the good part. And I'm like, no, it was not.
It's a shame too, because we really liked when it was kind of like in a sepia town and people were dressed like ancient Greece, and somebody did those vocals for 2 hours for 300. It was just like, after 300, where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, there's once you've made 300, and that movie does not hold the test of time visually. Once you've done that for a full movie, doing it for like fits and starts really does not work for me in any way, shape, or form.
I'm almost imagining too, it's like Zack Snyder kind of pitched that section of the movie like, check it out.
I mean,
300 with chicks.
He did do a lot of his greatest hits, which were like, all right, and then we're gonna do slow-mo. It's like, but Zach, like, it's just someone walking into a bank. And also, yeah, like, there's that scene where I think ostensibly terrorists are attacking a bank because reasons, and there's like school children in a bank, like as though that's a place where you went to a field trip on. I've never heard of such a thing. It was just, there were so many bizarre choices in that first half, and the second half I felt was solid because A, Superman comes back, and so that's, you know, inherently more interesting than no Superman.
Sure.
And B, they just start, you know, punching the bad guy. Like, the whole first half of the movie is just like Bruce Wayne angstily trying to find other metahumans who, how does he know who they are or where they are? Why is he assembling them if he doesn't know about the impending danger? It was very confusing.
I guess, I mean, there are two things that I don't totally get. The first one being like, I mean, I've seen some of these DC movies. I haven't seen all of them. But why are the boxes just like, I'm going to start with that. Why are the boxes?
That's never explained.
Like, why are they on Earth? What do they do? Why does anybody care?
And like,
why do they like? Why don't they just give them up? Like, oh, here, oh, you.
I know
these are yours.
Yeah,
you can have them. You can have them.
Just take them and leave, and we'll be cool. Yeah.
Like, why wasn't that a solution? I don't understand. Did anybody even offer that in the 4 hours?
So I guess in the movie, technically, that is not a solution because A, the boxes turn life into death. And so, like, if they get activated, you're screwed. But, like, let's say that you can control that and be like, turn life into death except for on Earth because they're cool and they gave me you. So, like, just chill.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other reason would be that Steppenwolf, who's the main Thanos, he's not the super Thanos. That comes later. I don't know if you saw the super Thanos. But the main Thanos of this movie decided that he found the end of life equation on Earth or something. Like he lost it. I don't know. Also didn't make sense. But I guess like that, he had to kill everyone so he could get the end of life equation or what. I don't know. It was so stupid. My biggest problem with the mother boxes is, their stupid fucking name.
Yeah.
I know in 1948 or whenever, when they first came up with the term mother box, it didn't sound like an Arrested Development joke that was a pun on like Lucille Bluth's vagina. God rest her soul. But that's,
you mean the band Mother Box?
Yeah, that's all I can think about is just like you're saying like mom's vagina, and please stop saying that because it's very uncomfortable and I don't want to hear it. Like, at least with Infinity Stone, it's just like general, like spacey enough where it's just like,
no, it sounds like a comic book. It's fine.
Yeah, sure. Like, whatever. But Mother Box just sounds like someone has parent issues.
Yeah. Tesseract. That sounded cool. That was a box.
That's
a cube.
That's a fourth dimensional cube, bitch. That's
Sick
cool as
box.
fuck. You know where I first saw a Tesseract on? Cosmos with not Neil deGrasse Tyson, the other guy who's dead now, whose name escapes me.
Carl Sagan.
Yes. I was going to say Vincent Price. Slightly different person. Same general idea, though.
One thing, I guess, so I only, there are a handful of movies. See, like DC movies, because of how I lived and how my travel schedule used to be, I would generally just watch them on planes. And I recall watching Batman versus Superman. I recall watching like David Harbour's Hellboy, but I don't really remember any details from these movies. They
I
just feel like
forgot that
dreams to
movie
me.
existed.
So I don't even remember if this is explained in Batman versus Superman, but everybody knows Batman's origin story, right? His parents get killed, like murdered
What?
outside of a theater, right? Spoiler, everyone. and so we know what his motivation for, or what his the impetus for being a superhero is, but we don't really know his motivation for this Batman. Like, why does he care?
Yeah.
Why is he even invested in any of this enough to be a superhero? He just seems like bummed out and dreary about everything.
Yeah, I mean, canonically in this series, they don't really get into his origin, which I'm totally fine with. I mean, they get into the Martha thing, obviously, but
they do get into the Martha thing. Okay,
but without the origin, or without framing Batman against I mean, they basically make Batman's first villain in this series Superman,
right?
Which means that we don't sympathize with Batman, and we don't know what kind of crime he's trying to fight. Like, he also allegedly in Batman versus Superman, like, brands criminals,
right?
With
I
like,
guess that's
bat. And, like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, and also he kills people.
Yeah.
So
with guns.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd. I mean, there's
not
a lot of
really Batman.
There's a lot of Snidery choices with this.
Yeah, I don't like Zack Snyder. Why did it? What wasn't Batman already dark enough? He's pretty dark, wasn't he?
He
Also,
had one rule, and Zack Snyder was going to make him break that one rule.
Yeah, but like Zack Snyder could have at least had it made him break that rule, then just sort of like, be devastated by the philosophical implications of it. But instead, he's just like, man, I love killing. Yeah, I'm Batman.
I would have preferred if they just like leaned into it instead of just like him killing people like mercilessly and like doing that, sort of thing, just like cold blooded. Like, if you're going to have him murder people, like, he should say like splat afterwards, like throw in like some references to like the, Adam West era, but just be like super like flippant about death and be like, looks like you're not going to get ahead. Like, just completely give him like the super like 1980s, just like kill shot jokes. And just lean into it that way. But like just having a very serious Batman who also murders makes him just completely unsympathetic in every sense. Yeah, Batman. I don't hate Ben Affleck as Batman, and I kind of like his costume because it's like clearly they put in like fake muscles and shit, and I think that's hilarious. I think a Batman would do that because he's a crazy person,
right?
But yeah, there were a lot
insecure or deeply insecure.
Oh, very insecure.
Yeah.
He's got real issues that he needs to go see a therapist about, but instead he just murders people. That's his coping mechanism, is murder in this universe. So yeah, I don't understand Batman, but like I said, for me, the second half of this movie comes together more so because it's like you get the scene where they resurrect Superman, which like whatever. They only killed him so that they could bring him back. Like, it was entirely pointless and a waste of everyone's time. But I guess if Superman's there from the beginning, he just does what he does at the end, which is show up, use his laser eyes, and then end everything. Like, that's all that fucking happens once Superman shows up at the end. So there's just a lot of odd choices. I thought the music again was... I mean, that's another Zack Snyder thing where his needle drops make no sense.
Yeah.
Where his use of like famous famous songs, but covers of them. So you're just reminded of better versions of a song. It reminds me of a better version of all of these characters. It's a meta commentary on like, yeah, you know how this song isn't the best version of this song? Batman, yeah, that too. I don't know. There's so much of this does not work for me. It was a lot better because, like, I just remember seeing Batman versus Superman, and that movie has 25 scenes in the first 3 minutes, and none of them are connected. And it was a goddamn nightmare. I don't know who fans are blaming that on because Snyder got to finish that one. But this was disappointingly average.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this. We could get into it in a bit, I guess. But the fundamental differences between the MCU and the DCU. But I mean, Zack Snyder he's got a very clear shtick, really, really muted gray color palettes. Like, I wouldn't even say even neutral characters, just kind of like really sort of edgy, kind of like brooding kind of characters. And so, yeah, like it would be one thing to say that they were like I don't see a whole lot of dimension to them. Like they're definitely archetypes, but then I guess so are superheroes. So,
I heard some commentary from some people when I was trying to, I don't know, come to grips with what I thought about the Snyder Cut. And someone was like, he doesn't care about normal people, like everyday people. And that's not something that's necessarily highlighted in a lot of Marvel movies, but so many of the extreme Marvel characters feel very normal and average and human. I mean, you look at pretty much everyone in Guardians of the Galaxy feels like a ridiculous idiot that you've, met at some point in your life. Like they feel ridiculous, but grounded. You feel like Tony Stark is grounded in his reality. You Ant-Man feels like a guy. Like there's characters where you can empathize with, and like Ant-Man has to deal with the fact that, his ex-wife remarried and he shares custody with his daughter. Like that's a real life situation that millions of people have to go through. Whereas like Superman, I can't remember a lick of Man of Steel, but in the last two movies, like the most human he's been is he like recognized that someone said his mom's name. Like his dad is about to die in a tornado and his dad just like waves him off. Like, I'm fine with dying right now in this horrific way of just being thrown by this tornado. And Superman's like, all right, cool. Later, Dad. Like, what? That's not how someone would react. That would be the first instance of Superman showing off his powers in any other storyteller's like, pantheon journey of getting Superman to be, Clark Kent to Superman. But instead, Zack Snyder just has this like inhuman view of these characters where it's just like, yeah, Wonder Woman's going to blow up a guy through a wall, and Batman's going to kill people, and Superman's going to watch his dad die.
Well, I mean, I think, I hate to bring it here because as much as I believe this is true, we're gonna have a tough time leaving this train here. But like, let's bring politics into it. Let's bring American politics into it. The reason why I think in part the MCU works, first of all, like the way I like to think about it personally, is that the MCU really replicates the sort of Star Wars original trilogy formula where it can be flamboyant and characters are just as capable of being in real peril and like reacting to real peril or real tragedy as they are being kind of funny. And it means that the pacing allows for there to be downtime where people are just kind of hanging out or being casual or developing their characters kind of in a more neutral way between these like kind of more intense scenes. And it does give an audience an opportunity to kind of like catch their breath and take stock and, you know, reflect on the people that they're actually watching on screen. When you don't really give people that opportunity and you kind of like maintain on a certain track and your characters are sort of like entirely on that track without stepping away from it at all, it's kind of exhausting to watch as an audience member, and it doesn't really give you a sense of authenticity that I think it's intending to leave you with. But the reason I think it's right to think that the variety and the diversity of the kind of MCU and the diversity of ways in which people are interacting with each other and interpreting things that are happening to them is why it seems so much more natural and so much more engaging. And to bring this kind of elsewhere, to lighten it up a bit, well, I think that, you know, that's my major criticism with pretty much all of Zack Snyder. This movie really helped me hone in on why I don't like Zack Snyder style of movies, and like, frankly, why, like, you know, people like Christopher Nolan need to start switching it up too. Like, it looks so dated in 2007, like all this like grimdark bullshit. But I would love to see sort of like grimdark, sexed up versions of like Super Friends, you know, with the Wonder Twins, like not Justice League, like Super Friends or
Wonder Twins activate.
Yeah. Like,
sorry, that's the Pornhub version. That's on OnlyFans.
Yeah, like Zack Snyder would totally just be like, okay, well, both of the Wonder Twins at some point were raped. Like, wait.
That's dark and it doesn't need to be.
Or I would also totally watch Zack Snyder's Captain Planet in a second.
Yeah. Do you remember Don Cheadle as Captain Planet on Funny or Die?
I do, yeah.
Oh my God. That was dark. It was very funny. And if you have not seen that, please go look that up. Don Cheadle as Captain Planet. But good Lord. Like, yeah, I would, I don't think he has the chops to like be funny dark about it. Yeah. Like I would not trust him. I would trust a lot of other directors with making that type of film. But like, yeah, it would just be depressing if he did it. Like, I'm not sure.
I think it would be super funny to watch like a totally depressing Captain Planet who's just sort of like,
this planet's dying anyway.
Exactly.
Fuck you, kids. Heart? What even is that? Those aren't elements, you idiots. Fire? Really?
Like, because Zack Snyder would totally use Captain Planet, and he would like imagine like the promo. Like, he would be like, yeah, well, I saw this as a vehicle to bring the devastation of the rainforest to everyone's attention. Like, yeah, thank you, Zach. None of us knew about it.
Yeah, no one was paying attention to that before you did this Captain Planet movie.
Like, you needed people to be shocked about it. Like, okay,
I would just look forward to the full minute and 23-second version of them first, all in slow motion, moving their fists forward to do the like Earth.
Do you think Zack Snyder would keep heart as a power?
No, it'd probably be torture.
Yeah. Bleak.
With our powers combined, we make sad Captain Planet. And it's just a reprisal of his version of Captain, or not Captain Manhattan, Mr. Manhattan, Dr. Manhattan. Sorry, I forgot about his degree.
Yeah, he got a degree.
Yeah, it'd just be completely apathetic, like, well, I guess you guys should stop littering. That would be good for the planet. Not that it matters. Yeah, I would watch that movie, but I would probably be just as disappointed as this 4-hour mega cut of a movie that frankly was terrible to begin with and got slightly better and isn't gonna lead to anything. So all of those weird scenes linking to a sequel that's never gonna come, those are a real waste of time.
Yeah.
What you did not see, I believe you saw the first time Martian Manhunter showed up, where Martha Kent and what's her bucket, Lois Lane,
Yeah.
were having a very heartfelt conversation, and then Martha Kent left and turned into someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they just didn't explain who that was. Well, he comes back at the end of the movie and explains that he's Martian Manhunter.
I thought that was a Krull.
I had no idea what to think because I do not go deep on DC Comics, so I was just like, well, all that did was ruin that very nice conversation between Martha Kent and Lois Lane, because Martha Kent wasn't there. So that was a very odd choice. But yeah, then he comes back and talks to clearly 2020 Ben Affleck, and he's like, hey, I'm gobbledygook, but people call me Martian Manhunter. And then he like flies away, and you're like, why did you film that? You filmed that in 2020. Why did you film that? Why did you make Martha Kent change into him? Like, there are so many decisions. Like, you're not getting another one of these movies. Ben Affleck does not want to be in your films anymore.
Ben Affleck doesn't want to? What's Ben Affleck up to?
Because he's been in 2.5 if you count this one being released again. Yeah. Terrible Batman movies that everyone hates.
Yeah, we keep being mean to him about it.
Yeah.
This is on us.
So I think he's done.
How about them apples?
Yeah. How about them apples indeed? And then The Witcher ain't coming back for this.
Oh, man.
He wouldn't even help them work out of a contract to get a mustache shaved in 2016. So he doesn't give a fuck. And he's been a terrible Superman in like 4 films now. So yeah, I think it's obviously dead. I think Aquaman is going to continue and Wonder Woman will continue. I doubt either of those should. The most recent Wonder Woman was fucking terrible.
I think Jason Momoa, first of all, I went back. I don't know why I did this or why I'm admitting to it on a recording, but I did go back and watch Jason Momoa's Conan the Barbarian.
Wow.
In a moment of weakness. I couldn't find the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, and I was like, all right, well, I guess let's look at Aquaman. Do it.
Khal Drogo.
Yeah. I did not watch the series.
Yeah, you still know who he is.
Yeah. Now. And I think with the difficulty of making Aquaman, since he's the butt of so many jokes, I think he does the best job as anybody could possibly do at making him a cool character.
If you didn't have a cartoon character like body of a man, like you couldn't like you. So I don't know if you ever watched Entourage, the HBO show, but one of the running jokes was like that the main character, who was the worst character in the fucking show, played Aquaman in a movie, and he was just like this string bean Italian guy from New York, and he plays Aquaman, and like it's kind of funny, like, oh, they picked Aquaman because that's the joke.
Yeah,
like you don't have to do anything else, just like Aquaman being a blockbuster is the joke. And then someone found a way to be like, no, we can actually do this. And you just have to find a jacked Samoan who's unbelievably charismatic.
Yeah, and
you can make it work. It's not great, but you can make it work.
Yeah. And I thought he's been really fun. He seems like a total blast in interviews too. But
yeah,
every time like Willem Dafoe just comes out of nowhere in like a wetsuit,
it's a little disturbing.
But that's exactly what he's doing. Like, what are you doing here, man? What are you doing here, Willem Dafoe?
I mean, it's not like he's slumming it up. He was in the Spider-Man movies as the Green Goblin, so he's willing to just go full ham. And God bless him. But yeah, like these days I just see like The Lighthouse and that's Willem Dafoe just coming in and just being like, actually, I'm going to talk about Trident a lot. It's like, what? No, that doesn't. Are you a serious actor or are you not? Like, what's happening?
They're going to have to do something about Amber Heard for those two. So, or maybe they won't. I don't know. But
she has 2 completely different accents in the Snider Cut and in she has an English accent in the Snider Cut, and then in Aquaman, which I think comes after, she just is speaking plain old American English.
I mean, that doesn't always kill you. Remember, Carrie Fisher had British accent for like only part of A New Hope, and we all just kind of ignore it.
It kind of made sense. She was doing it when she was like being hoity-toity and be like putting up a front, and then when like shit was actually going down, she was like, "Bitch,"
right? Because it blew up Alderaan. Stop dropping her R's. Well, yeah, I guess at this point they've already introduced the Flash and they've already introduced Cyborg, but they want to do standalone origin movies for them or something. I don't know.
DC's a nightmare because they're doing a new Batman with Pattinson, which I think actually looks good.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
That looks. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm sure I'll be disappointed, but I'm excited right now.
Yeah.
That comes out May 2022. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think so. They're also doing a second Suicide Squad.
Yep.
With James Gunn.
Yeah, that looks great, actually.
He said is not a sequel, but it's not going to contradict anything from the first one.
Fair enough.
Sure, if you can get that. I am on a Joel Kinnaman kick right now, right? Which I'll talk about later. But I'm excited for that. I think they greenlit an Aquaman 2, but that might have been in the before times. So who knows? Superman's gone. Ben Affleck's Batman is gone. So like, I don't know. You could get Aquaman. You could do another Wonder Woman. But then there's going to be this Batman that's a different thing. Oh, and then there's the Flash movie, which it sounds like they're doing like the multi-dimensional Flashpoint.
Yeah, what about there's a Shazam 2 coming out?
I hope so, because Shazam was delightful.
It was awesome. Yeah, Shazam was great. Like I think that the reason why we really liked all these Marvel, like all the Marvel stuff, is because they were pulling out a lot of these like kind of C-listers and D-listers, and like elevating them. I like there's other stuff in the DC universe that isn't just Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Well, and Marvel was forced to do that, I mean, famously because they didn't have the rights to X-Men or the rights to Spider-Man. They still don't have the rights to Spider-Man. It's just Sony was like, we fucked up Spider-Man so bad. Let's just split it 50-50. And it was a giant success. It's, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man on film.
Best Spider-Man. And I mean, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, probably like among my favorite animated films ever.
Oh yeah, and that, to be fair, is Sony. That's not Marvel Studios. That is absolutely a great film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, like Marvel had to be like, well, fuck, I guess Iron Man? And that's how they started this whole fucking thing.
Let's get Robert Downey Jr. He's available.
He's a drug addict.
He's a drug addict.
He's a drug addict and he likes prostitutes. So, Iron Man.
So did Walt Disney.
Let's build a multi-billion-dollar 20-plus film franchise off of him. As one does. So like they've made very few missteps, and even when like Thor 2 is a nightmare, they realize it, and then they're like, well, here's Thor 3, and it's really fun and wild, and Taika Waititi is great, and he'll just make something better out of this, and he does. So like, even when Marvel like gets too up its own ass with stuff, they pivot and listen to the critical reaction and audience reaction to it, and they make changes. But like, boy, Snyder's just like, you thought that was depressing. Wait till you see this next thing. So,
well, I mean, I think in part too, it's a question of audience, and I think it's a question of like who is Zack Snyder making his movies for, and who are Marvel making their movies for. Yeah. Marvel have opportunities, or have taken opportunities in order to, like kind of develop or expand into new places, groups of people who, might not have actually been all that interested in superhero or like high fantasy or space movies, that are now a lot more interested, just because it's not just, honestly, it's not just white dudes. And I don't think that, I think the strength of the Wonder Woman movie, at least the first one, I haven't seen the second one yet because everyone keeps saying it's bad, and I don't want to tarnish how much fun I had with the first one, but I mean, I don't think that Zack Snyder still seems to be making movies for teenage boys.
Yeah,
like kind of white teenage boys, which I guess isn't the worst thing, but it's isn't he just like, it's like we've been talking about this for 40 minutes, and I feel like we've been dancing around this. Is Zack Snyder just Michael Bay?
He's not nearly as talented as Michael Bay.
Yeah, but like, doesn't he occupy the same place as Michael Bay? Isn't he relying on the same things to kind of cultivate a relationship with the same people?
I would say that it's, first of all, is a very fair and apt analogy.
I know.
So that is fair.
Yeah.
I would say Michael Bay is a much better storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so enamored with his style. And I think anytime he's tried to deviate from that style, he's kind of had critical and audience pushback. And so he's just leaned into what people like about him. But like, if you try to watch someone do a Michael Bay film,
yeah,
they can't do it as well as him.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you tried to have, insert director here, try and replicate and improve on a Snyder film, I think you could. Obviously, Joss Whedon is not the director to go to, because he made a fucking mess out of what, while being 4 hours is a coherent film, he turned into an unwatchable mess. But I think like I said, the comparison is apt, but I think you should put some respect on Michael Bay's name, because he made The Rock, and that movie's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
He's made better movies than Zack Snyder ever will.
Yeah, Michael Bay's in the Criterion Collection.
Two times. Two times. I know that fact.
Yeah, and one of them's Armageddon.
Hey, Mike, I don't want to lose a thing, okay? So, I know you may want to lose a thing, but I don't want to lose a thing.
Just remember that Criterion Collection includes such things as, Kurosawa's Seven Samurai.
Yeah, seminal films.
Through Glass Darkly. Armageddon.
Yeah. The big ones, The stuff that you can't
Ingmar
miss.
Bergman, Armageddon.
It's basically the same thing. It's just an updated version.
I would watch the 4-hour Armageddon cut, because you would get a new cut every 3 or 4 seconds anyway. So,
do you think Michael Bay filmed 4 hours of coverage? Because I don't. I think he cut out 20 minutes out of what he shot.
I think that there's a 45-minute sequence of Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck doing the animal cracker thing. I think that's actually the extended cut for that would be like 45 minutes.
Yeah. I forgot about the animal cracker scene.
I think the scene where Steve Buscemi is duct taped to a chair freaking out, I think that's probably about an hour and a half.
Wasn't that Con Air, or is that just a different time where Steve Buscemi was taped to a chair and freaking out?
He got typecast a lot in the 90s.
Fortunately, 30 Rock just portrayed him as like a cross-dressing weirdo, and that really got him out of that psychopathic murderer zone.
Steve Buscemi is really well adjusted for having to like always be just kind of like some kind of unhinged character. Aside from who he was in like The Big Lebowski, otherwise, like think of every Adam Sandler movie where it's just sort of trot him out like, hey, you look weird.
We need someone who's ugly. Is Steve Buscemi available? All right, Mike, now that we've kind of discussed that, I was wondering if you would like to tell anyone about what you've been doing with the Name Taken podcast.
Sure. I mean, you can talk about this with me a little bit too, because you and I have made jokes about this in the past, right? But basically, I have a very common name. I discovered, like, I was able to quantify it, but there's actually, just in the United States alone, 2,900 other people alive who share the name Michael Marshall. And so my podcast is an opportunity to kind of track down and interview a lot of these people, and you know and learn who they are. Like, on one hand, I suppose, like, on the surface, it's kind of a very, like, a goofy project that we all have the same name. And then on kind of like a deeper level, it's like it's a really awesome opportunity to learn about and speak to all different types of people who have all these different experiences and areas of expertise.
Yeah, no, I like you said, we've had discussions before where I believe this is not the first time a Michael Marshall and a Tim O'Brien has collaborated on this on a thing.
Yeah.
I believe that has happened before, and I believe that is something you could probably find on Spotify. But yeah, no, having a very common name has been both a blessing and a curse.
Right.
I think both of us have never had to really spell our names for anyone, although people get my last name wrong all the time. They spell it with an A instead of an E.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, everyone knows Tim. I have friends who have, I would say, abnormal names, but that's not necessarily true. They just have non-white names, and those, they run into problems. Like, I have a friend whose name is Saud, S-A-U-D. And whenever he places an order somewhere, he just goes by the name Sam, because it's so much easier than explaining his name to someone. So, like I said, it's a gift and a curse. I was not the only Tim O'Brien in the journalism school at Indiana when I was in college. And I certainly, boy, unless things change rapidly, will never be the most famous Tim O'Brien.
Sure.
There are a lot of us out there.
Yeah, I mean, there, you of course have the author Tim O'Brien as well, and I have a couple of authors I'm contending with named Michael Marshall at the moment, both of whom I've been able to interview. It's weird. I think it's interesting that you bring up that your friend has to use a different name to order something,
a nom de cup, if you will.
Sure. I mean, that there's through like, so I just released episode 5, and as I've been working on this project over the last 2 or 3 months, it definitely has sort of shifted my thoughts away just from thinking about Michael Marshall and thinking about names and naming in general. There's a Michael Marshall I've been trying to get in touch with in Canada. He is a really prominent, like, LGBT and trans rights lawyer. Somebody who has a pretty strong background dealing with people changing their legal names, right? And it's just, now that I'm more sensitive to, I go by Mike, I go by Michael. This is where Marshall comes from. It just, thinking more about what a challenge it is for people to adopt a name or change a name or to shift into names. It seems like so much more absurd to me as I learn the ways that people have, just sort of inherited their names. It seems so absurd that people have such a tough time kind of changing to new ones. So it's cool. It's definitely offered me, new opportunities to think about my place in the universe, which is, something. And it's been a like I said, a cool opportunity to learn about people I would have otherwise not been able to learn about.
Yeah, and honestly, from what I've heard, and I have not heard up to episode 5, but very interesting. All of these people, you can tell some of the stories are definitely a little bit more ridiculous than others, including Mike Marshall, who was the original copywriter or trademarker of Hacky Sack.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one that I just I put out on Tuesday, and that was a huge effort because very thoughtlessly, I've committed to tracking down a lot of these historical Michael Marshalls, which means that I'm doing like multiple interviews with people who remember them, and I'm looking for historical information. And as it turned out, the hacky sack, the bag full of like plastic pellets that you kick around when you're smoking or you have something in your hands, that isn't the timeless classic we thought it was. It was actually like patented in 1975, and one of the people that developed the original hacky sack and all the modern rules and all of those sorts of things, that dude's name was Mike Marshall. So he died in 1975 from like a heart attack in his sleep, and he was only 28. But all these other people who remember him, these footbaggers, as they're called, and his widow and his business partner, who now you would call it business partner. At the time, you would call it another hippie who he hacky sacked with. All those people are still alive, and they're happy to talk about all the time that they had together. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hearing more about that episode. As far as pop culture goes, what else have you been consuming recently? Any shows or music that has recently piqued your interest?
Let's see here. I mean, I know I'm a little bit late to the party. Like I watched this back in January, but I was talking about this last weekend with somebody, and I can't wait for Bridgerton season 2. I think if right now, if I could choose this, I would. If I could get amnesia, I would, only so that I could watch Bridgerton season 1 again.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, Michael, I have great news. You can live vicariously through me, because I have not watched a second of that show.
Oh my God, we should. Oh God, we should watch it together and just sort of just podcast our reactions. That show
sure
rules.
Okay, I had no idea. Like, I heard like people, blowing it up, but I just assumed it looks like a period drama. I'm not super into those.
It is. It's a period drama, and it's like a period romance. But the major plot point is that this dude keeps pulling out when he's banging his wife.
Oops.
It's awesome.
I will have to investigate. We will set something up so you can watch me watch the show for the first time.
Yeah. And she's like the upper class, so she doesn't know how,
sex works.
P&V works. Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Not a big deal." The show rocks. Totally rocks. And oh my God, it's so much fun. And then they dig into well, why? Why would he do that? And you're like, that's why. Sick.
Well, I tell you what, all of Netflix's marketing did not include what you just told me, and that has interested me much more than anything that they showed about the show. So yeah, we'll definitely set something up.
Yeah. So I loved that. Why do I got 2 going here apparently.
Double fisting it.
What else have I been working on? I mean,
not that there's many movies out, but I guess a couple of things have released in the last month. Did you see Coming to America?
I did not. I saw the first one, and I thought that was enough. It was a great movie, and I didn't want to ruin it, and I knew this would ruin it. So
it was fine.
It's fine?
Yeah. It did not ruin Coming to America for me, because nothing can ruin that. Yeah. I've loved that movie for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And that is a perfect comedy. But yeah, this one was just, I mean, it was unfortunate that it was one of those movies where it's like they just kind of run back a lot of the jokes, and therefore the joke isn't the joke anymore. It's the, hey, remember the first joke? And that's kind of lame. You kind of want a little bit more. But it was just, it's like the later seasons of Arrested Development. They're not as good as the first 3 seasons. But like, I love those characters so much that I'm willing to put up with like wonky storylines or like weird timelines. Like I can deal with all of that as long as, you know, I get to see Tobias Funke do some hilarious shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I had a different relationship to what's it called? I had a different relationship to the Arrested Development, and I feel like that's a great reason why you should just let things die when they die. So when there wasn't a second Coming to America, I was like, there should only be one. So I've been like a lot more hesitant to.
That's fair enough.
To kind of do some of these sort of like fan servicey kind of revisiting, you know, franchises or whatever. I mean, that said, I am definitely totally down for the new Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh yeah, well, I never really watched the first one, but this one looks fucking hilarious.
We should watch the first one as point of comparison.
Sure.
And then, I mean, I have video games, and I've got my Nintendo, so I've already pre-ordered Pokemon Snap 2, and I did that because I'm in my 30s and I don't have a job. So there's two demographics.
Pokemon Snap, so
I have Pokemon Snap 1. Yeah, so there's Nintendo's like actually focused on 2 different demographics. The first one is 9-year-olds in Japan. Second one
is 30-year-olds in America.
Single men in their 30s who don't have jobs. Yeah. So I'm very excited for that one. And I'm going to blow through it in 2 or 3 hours and be a little bit disappointed. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I remember playing that game a lot as a child. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to hearing about how great it is because I don't own a Switch. So
I'll bring it around.
Perfect. Yeah. Right. Recently, I've been on. Like, I'm watching the Marvel shows. I'm sure you're watching the Marvel shows, right?
Oh yeah, fucking Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Winter Soldier. I felt like 2 was the first time out of all of the Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus where I finally was like, I really enjoyed that. Like, WandaVision was fine, but like the mystery box turned like out like a wet fart. Like there wasn't much of a mystery box actually. Like after episode 1, everyone's like, oh, that's Agatha Harkness. And then it's like at the end, like that was the big reveal. It was like, oh, okay, I was hoping this would introduce the X-Men. And it didn't do that, which is not the show's fault. That's my fault for expecting that.
And 20th Century Fox. Fair.
Yeah. So my takeaway with Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just like, hey, just enjoy it for what it is. And the scene where Anthony Mackie and whatever Bucky's real name is.
Ooh, yeah. What is Bucky's real name?
I'm sure I know it.
James? I'm feeling like a James.
Old Jimmy Bucks.
Wait, what's Bucky short for?
Bucky is his
Buck.
So the actor's name is not James, but yes, I believe
Sebastian Stan is the actor.
Sebastian Stan.
Nailed it.
That's what I couldn't remember. But I believe Bucky Barnes is short for James Barnes.
James, yeah, dude, you nailed it.
I believe you were correct.
Yeah, I
was looking for Sebastian Stan.
I love how like Marvel's keeping all these old school names alive. You know, Carol,
James.
Well, okay, fine. Steve.
I love that. That's
Pepper.
an old lady. Agatha,
yeah. Wanda.
Tony's not super old.
No, it's not old.
Yeah, no, but I just watching that and watching Sebastian Stan and Well, you know who really brought back Thor was the guy who played. Oh, you didn't watch Game of Thrones?
Didn't watch it.
He plays the Mountain, and his name is actually Thor.
It's been so long since I read a book. I don't even remember any of the characters anymore.
The Mountain's a really big guy.
Don't worry about it.
They hired the strongest man in the world.
Spoilers. I don't know.
To play him. And his name is Thor in real life.
Andre the Giant.
No. Thor.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the scene where Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie just kind of have therapy together in the second episode, and we're, foils to each other in a very fun way. I thought that episode was, like I said, the most fun I've had in the 2 series so far. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this. But really what has me going is every Friday or Thursday night, if I'm up late enough, I get to watch the next episode of season 2 of For All Mankind on Apple Plus. And I really, really enjoy that show. And I don't remember how great the acting was in season 1. But as I said earlier, I am on a Joel Kinnaman kick. Because Joel Kinnaman in season 2 of For All Mankind is rocking my world, and just it was episode after episode he is layering a convincing and authentic performance of this test pilot dad who has been to space but has seen the best and the worst of his colleagues, and man, he is just doing some things with that performance that I cannot get enough of. So if you have not seen on the Apple Plus For All Mankind, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, tell me, actually, because that's one of the subscriptions I do not have. How is stuff going on there?
So there's a lot on Apple Plus that is to like. I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone who watched Ted Lasso and didn't think it was great.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is a wonderful show, and I would strongly suggest anyone who likes good television to watch it. It is funny. It is caring. It is empathetic. It's Jason Sudeikis, who, very funny. And Bill Lawrence, who did Scrubs. And Scrubs was a great show with a lot of heart. And this show has a lot of heart, too. And the shame lady is, again, you don't watch Game of Thrones, but the shame lady from Game of Thrones is, spoiler alert for the books, at one point a lady says shame a lot.
Do you know what would be a really good podcast? You just talk about Game of Thrones and I'm confused and I don't contribute. That'd be a really good podcast.
That's what this podcast is about. It's called Subject to Blackout, but that's a lie. It's called He Didn't Watch Game of Thrones.
I know it is Song of Ice and Fire.
Listen, it may have stunk. Whatever. The first book is called Game of Thrones. Oh. Fuck you. I know enough. I listened to that book on tape. And listen, I got an end to Game of Thrones. You will never get an end to Song of Ice and Fire.
That dude's, unless they let Brandon Sanderson finish it, that dude's dead for sure.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin is not finishing his book.
I just think that just Brandon Sanderson should be brought in to finish all the.
Because I saw today that George R.R. Martin is doing a play or something.
Oh my god, dude! Anytime anybody says I saw today George R.R. Martin, 3 years ago, I would have thought finish the book, but now I'm in the hospital.
Is dead.
Had a heart attack.
Got COVID.
Exactly.
No, fortunately, still alive. Unfortunately, continuing to do any work that isn't finish those fucking books.
It's a thing. It's a thing in fantasy. Who the hell's the other one? Do
you watch The Expanse? Because they're finishing those books.
No.
James S.A. Corey, which is actually 2 people in a pseudonym, have knocked out they may have be releasing their 9th out of 9 books. They're that far into it. and the television show The Expanse, which is just phenomenal science fiction television. They're on season 6, I want to say.
You're not the only one to recommend The Expanse. I need to get on top of The Expanse.
I'll watch Bridgerton and you can watch The Expanse.
All right. Like in the world of fantasy literature, basically, I mean, these two gentlemen kind of did this at the same time, where George R. R. Martin was like, "Oh, I could just have an HBO. Oh, I'm just gonna do that then." And then Patrick Rothfuss was like, "Oh, I don't have to finish my trilogy. I can just like wait to option this for TV. I'm gonna do that." So, like, there's a handful of different fantasy epics right now that are just like never going to get finished. So I do this like once every 2 or 3 months for the past 10 years. Doors of Stone. Is it complete? It's not. Okay. Still not. And the most recent, so yeah, if in the fantasy literature world, winteriscoming.net covers both the George R. R. Martin books that are not coming out and the Patrick Rothfuss books that are coming out. And the most recent update was a month ago. So
that's so sad. I'm still waiting on Tolkien to finish his whole Lord of the Rings quadrillion.
He wrapped it up. He was like, and they sailed off to the Undying Lands. The end.
Dude, if George R. R. Martin came out and was just like, and then they sailed off to the Undying Lands,
I'd take it at this
and
point.
Was like, that was the new book, it'd be like, cool.
All right.
At least it's over. Like, that was my thing with the last season of Game of Thrones. Is a lot of people didn't like how it turned out because it felt rushed. And it did feel rushed. But I was like, it was so good at its height that, like, I just want an ending to the story. And then, like, if it's not perfect, whatever. Was it disappointing? Yes. But I feel so much better than I would imagine you do, because at least I got some semblance of it ending.
You're right. You probably do.
And in our minds, we're both writing the ending that we want. But, like, I have a lot more runway.
I mean, honestly, it's been so long. I definitely still, if I could pick up a Patrick Rothfuss book tomorrow and probably read through it, but there was so much stuff going on with George R. R. Martin, and it's been
there's 1,500 central characters.
Yeah, so honestly, if I picked it up right now, I wouldn't have the slightest idea what was going on.
If nothing comes out of that show, at least it cemented a few actors' careers and introduced us to a few actors more, like Jason Momoa. So.
Hey,
there's worse things in the world. Well, Mike, I want to thank you for joining me on this inaugural Subject to Blackout podcast.
Cheers.
Again, you can be found at the Name Taken Podcast. And is there anything else you'd like to plug?
I'm good for now. No, I'm at Name Taken Podcast, and I have a new episode up every Tuesdays, and that's about it.
So subscribe to that, and I believe you're on Instagram and a couple of any other social network sites right now.
I'm on Twitter. Yeah, you can take my link tree and you can find me in all the main directories and all the main socials.
All right, well, we'll drop that into the information in the notes in this podcast, and everybody should subscribe and listen. Like I said, I want to thank you for coming out and having a chat with me, and hopefully we'll do this again real soon.
Thanks, Tim.
No problem. Have a good one.
Cheers.